I'm going to sneak in another call before I go to the break. Let's go to line number 2. Good morning, Simon. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
I'm all right this morning. How about you?
I can't complain. It's a great day.
Good. Yes, it is beautiful out.
What do you think would happen, do you think? Like, I don't know what your bosses are like, but, I know what most of my bosses are like. If you decide one morning that, no, I don't care to do my job, but please continue to pay me. Please allow me to continue to cash your checks. And that's pretty well what happened in the last couple of days with the Tories and the Public Accounts Committee in the House of Assembly.
I can't believe that they've chosen this course of action. There were so many, and I mean, this is not to try and offer them an easy way out either, but there were so many opportunities for non-cabinet ministers to sort of duck a lot of this issue in the first place. They wouldn't have first-hand information. They weren't in the room. They weren't on the phone. So I don't know why they've chosen this course, because it really does cement anybody who was cynical or worried about or suspicious. That just means they've amped up those particular sentiments.
I'll tell you, do you recall all those public accounts committees that occurred under the Danny Williams years?
Do I remember?
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody does.
No, you don't. And the reason why you don't is because they did the same thing then. Because you have to remember, let me just so I can wind back a little bit, just so people understand what we're talking about here. The House of Assembly is what approves all spending, and it is only the House of Assembly that can do that. So the House approves spending. The money gets spent by government. The Auditor General will do a review, and then a committee of the House of Assembly will review that review. And there's two things special about the Public Accounts Committee compared to every other committee of the House. One is it is the only committee chaired by the opposition.
That's right.
And the other thing is, it's a majority government, of course, because it's the government is a majority in the House. So you have 5 members of the House of Public Accounts Committee. If government decides that their members are going to stay home, then there's no quorum for the meeting, and there's no public accounts. And that's exactly what happened in the Danny years. Now, things got a little bit better over the last few years. We've had, the government members have conceded and allowed the meetings to go ahead by just showing up. They don't participate much, but they show up. Well, this time, because the questions are going to be tough, and because the questions are going to be about issues that they don't want to talk about, specifically Humber Valley paving, because they're very sensitive about that, they have decided that there's going to be no meetings. We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to show up, basically. But while we're not going to show up, please continue to give the additional $10,000 a year that we get for sitting on the committee. Continue to deposit that in our accounts, please.
Yeah, and this has dogged a couple of PC members over the last number of years. Mr. Dinn fell into that criticism crosshairs, and he deserved it. And now Mr. Hunter is facing the same music, and they're not taking too kindly to the criticism. But with all due respect to elected members, we don't really care how you're taking it, because they're legitimate questions and concerns, and we deserve better. And it's not just on public accounts, and it's not just the government. It can be anyone who's in an elected position, who's got some authority, knows more than they're willing to share. We're going to treat them all the same. And on this front, it just comes across so poorly. It cannot be sold as anything but ducking and dodging legitimate concerns of the committee and for everyone in the province.
This is one of the things that brought down people recall this. This is what brought down the Tories in Alberta when I think it was under Redfern, the news broke that there was a whole bunch of committees in their legislature. The Buys were receiving all kinds of extra money for these committees. Some of them hadn't met in a decade, but they were still getting the money for it each and every year.
That's right.
And people quite properly pointed to that as a self-serving, broken committee system. And, it's hard to not look at this House and not come to the same conclusion, that government has permitted to continue a broken yet self-serving committee system, because we'll pay you the cash to have your name on a list. But you can block the information and you can block the meetings if you like. And I'm not sure if we've heard anything from the ministers about this yet. I know we've seen reports with the vice chair, Ray Hunter. But where's the responsibility for this from the government House leader, for example? It's just a shambles up there.
Yeah, no one can dispute that. I mean, we've been without well-functioning, properly functioning committees on a variety of levels and issues for quite a long time. And when the money goes out the door and we're not getting the results that we need and desire from these committees, then there is something absolutely horribly wrong. And forget the all-party approach, which should be a fundamental part of the House of Assembly. This stinks. Everybody knows it. It's a really bizarre choice for the PCs to go down this road. You know, when something is already a problem for you, the clear political advice is to do everything you can not to make it worse. And to have that Public Accounts Committee shunned because of things like garden parties and that kind of stuff, that is the epitome of poor management, poor politics, poor message control, poor accountability to the people, and all of those things, when you compile them, and I guess we put them on the same pile, that people will indeed have the reaction that you and I and many others, if not the vast majority of the province, are having this morning. Simon, before we wrap it up and go to the break, anything else you'd like to summarize with?
No, that's it. It's it's about time that we've corrected this. We've had, if you look across the country, and there's studies that do this from time to time, and they look at the functions of the legislatures, one thing they find about Newfoundland is that it, especially in the last 10, 15 years, has been consistently the most dysfunctional and really the most centralized one, because if ministers don't get to do it, then nobody gets to do it at all. And the average member has just been emasculated, and that has to change after the next election.
Simon, I think there's a lot of things have to change, and I think that we absolutely chose the wrong place to start when it came to Bill 42 and the seat reductions. With all the necessary legislative reforms, democratic reforms available, that was the absolute least and the lowest priority possible, was the seat reduction issue. I do appreciate your time this morning. Have a nice week, and we'll talk soon.
Take care. Have a good day.
Simon, bye-bye. Yeah. What the hell is going on here sometimes?